Hi everybody, welcome to Missy's Imaginings. For those of you in the States, happy Thanksgiving 2022. So I had a question about threading and using some of my sewing machines. So I thought I would go ahead and answer that question for anyone who's interested. And we'll start with the single needles that I use here in the house. I've got the Janome here and the Singer here. Then I have two industrial machines that we'll look at. For now, I didn't want to dig out some of the other machines that I have, so we'll just do these four because it's kind of pretty basic in the way a machine is threaded. So yeah, so we'll go ahead and take a look at that. And then if you're in the States, you can watch it quickly and then, you know, enjoy letting your Thanksgiving dinner digest. If you're not in the States, I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I'll see you after a bit. So this machine is a Janome Memory Craft 4800. Right now it's pretty old. I got this machine new, let's see, when my oldest was like 20 years ago, about. So it's an old machine. And so any machine that you thread will have similarities, but some will have differences, just because every machine is a little different depending on what company makes it. So the Janome has two places where you can put thread. One is here with a little cap that can go on it for a normal spool. Then this can go on the top if you have a spool that's taller. And then I like to use cones, and so I have purchased, hopefully we'll get it to show in the oh, I can take this off. I've purchased a thread stand, so it has the hook here and a base, and then post to hold the thread. So my thread, because I'm using this cone, will be coming from that, but otherwise you can put your spool here. Oh, let me grab an actual spool. So you can have a spool on here because this doesn't fit down there, or you can have a spool here like that. So there's different options for where the thread is going to be housed. So let's get all that out of the way. And so I'm going again to be using the post, just because I'm going to need some white thread here shortly. So in my machine, there's a little nook here that the thread goes underneath, and then this helps with, it's like just a guide. It doesn't have a lot of tension, but there is a spring here, so it puts some tension on the thread. Then we're going to come down the first groove, and then when you go all the way down, it'll kind of hook over. Then you're going to come back up. The next part is putting it through the take-up lever, and you always want your take-up lever all the way up. So now I'm going to thread it through that take-up lever, and we can open this, I guess. So this is the take-up lever. Then the thread is going to come down, and I have a little guide here, goes under the guide. So here's the first little guide, and now it's going to go through a guide at the top of the needle, and then once it's through this guide at the top of the needle, then the needle can be threaded. For the bobbin, this has a clear bobbin cover, and it has a top lay bobbin. This the bobbin just lays in like this. When this is going to be different depending on your machine. This is a front load needle, which means I thread from the front to the back, and the bobbin will lay in so that the thread comes off the bobbin counterclockwise, and then it lays in, and there's a little hook right here that I just hook that thread in that little hook. So right now I have the thread so that it comes off counterclockwise. You can see that bobbin turning counterclockwise. So I have my thread from the needle and then the thread from the bobbin, And now I'm going to switch hands with my camera, and now I'm going to take the wheel of my machine and I'm going to turn it counterclockwise and then lift it up again. Switch the camera with my hand. Now I'm going to pull the thread from the actual needle. Then I'm just going to sweep underneath the foot and draw out the bobbin thread. There we go. So now both threads are on the surface of the machine, and then I will replace the cover. There we go. And my machine is threaded. And that's how you thread the Janome Memorycraft 4800. Then a lot of times, because I have the thread coming from the stand, which there's a better look at the stand, I have the lid open so that it can be threaded from the top there. So then there's another look at the inside and the threaded machine. So there we go. So that's the first machine. And this is a Singer 201 antique machine. I think this one was made before or after, a little around 1943. It's, as you can see, it's in beautiful condition. So we'll take a look on how to thread this machine. The one interesting thing, but in a lot of the old machines and some newer machines, if you want to change out your thread and you don't want to go through the whole threading process, you can just cut your thread off and put your new thread on and tie a knot in your thread. So we'll do that here. And I like to leave it so my tails aren't really, really long. So let's see, we'll grab some scissors and snip that a little bit. There we go. So we have our knot here. And then you don't want to take the thread through the needle, because obviously the knot won't go through the needle. But a lot of times you can, if your foot's up, let's see if my tension is okay. Oh, raise up my take-up lever, and you can pull the thread through all the way down through those guides, and then just trim off the old color. Of course, mine's the same. But anyway, so then you've got everything threaded, and there we go. Get it on the take-up lever. It kind of pulled off a little bit. And then thread your needle. On the Singer 201, the thread will come from the spool to a small little eyelet guide, down through the tension springs to, or the tension discs to a take-up spring right here. Then it will go back up to the take-up lever, and then it'll come down through a guide on the side right there. Then another guide down here by the needle. Then there's a tiny little guide right here by the needle. Let's see if we can see that. And then into the actual needle itself. So that's how the 201 is threaded. And then once you have your thread all the way pulled through, then you thread your needle. And this machine has the kind of the typical layout as opposed to, you know, some other machines. But because the bobbin is on this side, which it's right here, since the bobbin is on this side of the machine, the thread goes that way towards the bobbin. So we go ahead and put it in here and put in our little sample. Let's see, we'll do it this way so I can see where I actually have stuff to sew. Lower the foot, and here we go. And this little machine is quite a little workhorse. It will sew pretty heavy fabrics with no problem. So that's the top, and there's the bottom. There we go. So that's threading the Singer 201. The bobbin, we could always take this out if you'd like to see putting in the bobbin. And so the bobbin will go counterclockwise. To thread the bobbin, we're going to go ahead and put the thread on the bobbin post. Then it goes around a tension disc here. Now when you're going to put the bobbin on the post of the machine, there's little holes in the edge of the guard here, and those holes have to plug in. There's a little peg right here on the bobbin winder, so you have to turn that bobbin until it clicks, so that little peg on the bobbin winder goes in the hole of the bobbin, because if you don't, then the bobbin won't engage on the winder. So we take the thread and thread the bobbin, then this goes down to lock it in place. Then we're going to disengage the clutch, which is the small knob in the wheel. So if we turn it counterclockwise, it'll disengage the clutch. So that prevents your needle from going up and down while you're going to wind the bobbin. And this is now in place. So I'm going to hold it taut and press my button. I like to get it so that it's anchored really well. And then once that's good and tight and the bobbin has started, then I just clip this off so I don't have this wild thread. And then we go ahead and engage the motor. But as you can see, the wheel's not turning, my needle's not going up and down. This is measuring how much thread is on the bobbin. Woo. And it will automatically unlatch. So like now the wheel is turning, but now that this little rubber wheel is not engaged, it's not going to overwind the bobbin. So it's done. We can just cut the thread and take the bobbin off. It's ready to sew. There we go. So there's our bobbin all wound. And then before sewing again, you just turn that wheel, or turn the knob clockwise again to re-engage the machine. So there we go. That's winding the bobbin. On a little bit of a side note, I thought you might like to see the foot pedal on the Singer 201, just to show. It's interesting because a lot of foot pedals just have the whole foot pedal that goes like this, but this actually has a toe rest and then a depression button for engaging the motor. And then I have had to do a little repair on the cord just because it's so old. Eventually I am going to get a whole new cord and put inside here, so I've had to do some work inside to get the pedal to work. When I first got this machine, the button here was disengaged from the things inside. It was all floppy, so I had to fix that cording and put it back together inside. But there we go. So the foot pedal works. And yeah, so just kind of a fun note on these older machines. If you're able to procure one, just be prepared that the wiring is going to be really, really old, and it may need some work in order to function safely, because some of that rubber on the cording can melt and get really, really old over time and split, which will expose wires. So yeah, so for now it's got a little band-aid on it, but eventually I need to redo the whole cording from the foot pedal to the machine, as well as the electrical cord that goes to the outlet. So, and this comes off with a gentle tug. There we go. So yeah, this comes off like this. So that's the cord to the outlet, and then it pops on. So there we go. So that goes in the end. So there we go. That's the Singer 201. Okay, so this is my Brother industrial single needle machine. The Brother, let's see if we can get closer, Brother etc. And down here we've got a serial number, or I don't know if it's like a model number, but anyway, there's another number in case you're interested in this machine. It's old. But then I got this machine at a sale. A friend of mine bought a building that was absolutely full of sewing machines, and this was for sale. So I got this machine, and it had a really old motor in it, and that motor kind of seized up immediately when I got it home. But it also included a second motor, which, let's see if I can get the lamp down here and show it did come with an additional motor that my daughters and I installed and changed out after the other one seized. So one of you kind viewers had asked to see the industrial machines and how they sew and how they thread. So the stand is, oh sorry, I went too tall, up here. So I have a thread here that's on the stand, and then it comes down to, it goes in here, like in through and then back out around a small tension disc through another slot, feeds down and loops once or twice here. There is a third loop, but I don't use it. Then it comes down into a tension disc, around the tension disc, around a bar that gives a little bit of tension pull, so that then the thread, well, there's like a spring. So here we go. Here's the take-up spring. So the thread goes from the tension disc into the take-up spring, and then back around this lever underneath, and then back up through an eye here, then to the actual take-up lever here. Then it comes down through another guide, down through another guide, and then also on a needle guide and into the needle. Now this machine threads, let's see if we can show, it's kind of an ugly color threads, sorry about that, but it threads from left to right, which is a little bit unusual considering that the bobbin is over here. We'll take a look underneath the machine. There's the bobbin. So the bobbin is in a case, and we'll come back up here. So to access the bobbin, you can slide in from the side because you could see it from the side. But we can also gently lift this because it sits a little deep in this table. And in here is the bobbins. So it sits in there. I like to reach from under the table through the opening in the machine, and then it has a little handle that it unclicks and comes out like so. So this is the bobbin case, and then the bobbin is inside, and I don't want to completely unthread it, but the bobbin then turns counterclockwise inside. Hopefully you can see that. And so when you put the bobbin in, it goes through a little slot and then up underneath the tension spring. Then with this hand I'll open that little lever and hold my thread, and then it goes back onto the post, close that up. There we go. And now I have to move the machine, and here it's because it sits kind of deep in this table, so this door, because it has a spring on it, it won't just slide open. So it's kind of a bear. But anyhow, so that's how this machine threads. And this poor little guy has been sitting a lot during just the last year. I haven't used it a lot, but I got it all oiled up, got it threaded. So let's see if we can go ahead and sew a few stitches here. And I like to sink the needle. This does not have an automatic sink for the needle, so you have to just turn the wheel. But we'll go around here. It's nice and quiet. That second motor was great. So there we go, and we'll cut that. So that's the single needle. Let's take a look at the stitching. So right now it's on a smaller stitch. So this is the sewing here, and then this is the back side, and this is just a vinyl that I'm sewing on. So that's the single needle industrial machine. that I have. Now we'll take a look at the double needle. Okay, this is the double needle machine. It is a Conso 339RB-3 model, and it also has a similar motor to the brother. This one actually has the all my junk in the background there, has a stand as well, and then it also has, we'll follow the cording up here, a light actually attached to it. So to thread this machine, it comes from the thread up through the stand, then it comes down to, here we go, there's two of the initial thread guides, so it comes into the guide and then out. Let's see, I need to back up, it's not wanting to focus here. So it comes into the guide here and then through, like over and around and through a little tubing here and comes out. Then there are wrap guides here where it kind of goes in and out, and you can filter and wrap here. They add a little bit more tension so it's not just loose thread coming into the machine. Then we've got one tension disc here and the other one here because it's a double needle. And then underneath it goes under and up around. There's a little bar right here, so the thread hooks on that bar. The other thread goes the opposite direction, so it threads over the top of the tension disc and then hooks on top of this little bar. So there's two of those little bars. Then they come down into an additional tension disc that has the take-up springs right here. Let's see if they, and then it goes up through just a guide that keeps it from getting caught and everything, to the take-up the take-up lever, which has two holes because there's two threads. And then it comes down through the guide again, and here we have just another guide that has a felt, and you oil the felt inside there. Then it comes down here. Now these are, since it's a double needle, the thread comes down and then it threads from the center out and the center out, because on this machine, slide this, the bobbins are on either side. So here's our bobbins. So this machine I like a lot better, just because I'm used to this kind. It's the kind I use at work, and the bobbins lay flat. I don't have to do the little side trying to get it in there and hold the little handle. So these just drop in, and there's a little stand here that holds them in place. So then the bobbins will turn counterclockwise. So let's see if we can get the bobbin threads, and it's easier to display this on this machine because we can just open the casing and actually see them. But here we'll gently turn as I pull. I don't know if you can see, they're turning counterclockwise. So there we go. There, I'm pulling all the thread out. So then this machine is, not only is it different because it's a double needle, but this machine actually has a walking foot. So in the other machine, the feed dogs underneath, which are the little pointy things down there, they move the fabric or textile through the machine from underneath. On a walking foot machine, as the feed dogs are pulling things through, this foot will actually go up and down as well to help feed everything through. And it's nice because if you have things that are really thick, it gives that little bit of release of tension from underneath the foot to let things go underneath it. Here we go. We'll go ahead and put in our vinyl. And as I mentioned to the kind viewer, these industrial machines do have a really strong grab. I do a lot of times hold on to my thread when I'm going to start because it doesn't have an automatic needle sink. And this machine, they're all kind of quirky. They all kind of do their own things, but this one has a really tight, I don't know if it'd be the clutch in it, but it's really hard to turn the wheel unless I actually press a little bit on the foot pedal to engage so that this will move. But if I don't press on that foot, this it doesn't want to move. But if I lightly press on that pedal, it disengages the clutch so that I can move, and then I can sink the needles if I want. So here the difference will be, let's see if we can zoom in a little bit, and we'll try to aim it down a little bit better. All right, let's see if this will show, if you can see how the foot actually, the top foot doesn't just let things glide under it, it will actually move as well. So here we go. If I can, there again, my pedals kind of, there we go. So see how it kind of jumps up and down and travels? So that's the walking foot. Both of the machines, let's see if we can swivel around here and see the side. Both of the machines have a reverse lever. So we'll go back down here. Oh, here, we'll adjust. And if I engage the reverse, then I can do like a back tack. There. And again, slightly press on that, and then we'll pull it out. This is the double needle, so it has the 2 threads that sew. We'll show why it's fun to have a double needle. So what we're going to do is we'll just create a seam with get everything pulled here. Okay. There, and if you could tell, it was kind of pulling my threads there because, yeah, it has a good jump on it on these double needle machines. I'm reaching around a lamp, so sorry about that. So what we'll do, scissors are terrible. Okay, so the really fun thing with the double needle that we do a lot at work is once you have a seam that you want to open, the double needles are really cool because you can sink our needles here. There we go. And see how well I'll do here when I'm at a weird position with my camera. And that allows you to have stitching on both sides of a seam, there we go, that has exactly even stitches. So that's why a double needle is really fun to have and to play with, because now if I sew on both sides, because I want, you know, stitching on both sides of my seam, my stitches will be exactly the same on both sides, which is just a nice feature. So yeah, so that's the double needle machine. Again, we'll just kind of zoom out here. There we go. So that's the Conso double needle machine, and how you thread it, and what the stitching looks like.